Okay, let's go ahead and get started. First of all, I want to thank everybody for attending today's webinar. This is meant to be a short webinar, about half an hour. It is focused on a particular subject, and we do have a number of webinars that are short because everybody has busy days, so we try to focus on specific areas. However, we do have a number of longer webinars as well. Additionally, if you do want to schedule a demo with your team or specifically do a one-on-one, please feel free to email directly. My name is Paul Tempienko. I do head up the marketing and business development for Projecis. And today's webinar will be focusing on how to create projects, invite members, and edit your profile within Projecis. Projecis has a lot of features. In this particular webinar, we'll just focus on these three features and how to adjust them within your particular subscriptions and your particular projects. We do have a number of people that are joining us today in today's webinar. So if you do have a question, please feel free to type it into the question panel on your screen. And I'll try to get to it during the course of the webinar itself. Otherwise, I'll be keeping everybody muted because we have a lot of people and certainly a lot of the noise and feedback can cause a lot of distraction. But again, I want to address your questions should they come up. So in today's agenda, we'll be talking about creating projects. Within Projecis, a majority of the information is organized and structured around projects. So how do we create them with Projecis? Who can create them? Additionally, we'll be talking about inviting members to subscription. This is also an important part because Projecis is structured as a subscription-based system. So for example, you have a subscription to Projecis. You can have 50 seats, 100 seats on Projecis or more. Within those seats, I can assign any number of those seats to projects. So I can have 10 people on project A, 100 people on project B, 50 people on project C. And I can mix and match them. And we'll go over inviting members to a subscription. And we'll also be talking about managing your personal profile. This is important as we start getting more and more involved in Projecis, what can be done with the personal profile. So we'll talk a little bit about each one of these, and we'll see examples of each one. So first, let's talk about creating projects. Who can create projects? Well, anybody that has is a subscription administrator can access the area that allows you to create projects within Projecis. I do get the question, well, how do I know if I'm an administrator or not? Well, there are a number of ways, but one of them, and certainly the easiest one, is if you have access to Manage Projects and Members option. And I'll show you that within the system. If you have access to this particular feature or this particular option, then you are an administrator within Projecis. Now, just to note here, when we talk about the subscription administrators, there are really two types of subscription administrators within Projecis: full administrators and project level administrators, and we'll see that in just a second. During the course of this presentation, we're going to really take a look at three different member types. One type is going to be subscription administrators. In this case, Luke Skywalker is going to be a full administrator versus R2D2, who's going to be a project level administrator. And as I mentioned before, those are the two types that can create projects. The third type that we'll be going over in this particular presentation is a regular member. There are a lot of other types of permissions within Projecis. However, at the subscription level, there are really only three: full administrator, project administrator, and a regular member. So with that, let's just jump directly into the demo. Here, I've logged into Projecis, and I've logged in as Luke Skywalker. In the previous slide, we saw that Luke Skywalker is a full administrator, and he has the ability to create projects. As I mentioned before, if I were to click on my name and I were to scroll down, I have the ability to manage projects and members. That option exists because I am a full administrator on the subscription, and I can create projects and invite members. So those are the two options that we saw earlier. As I mentioned, R2D2, who is in this particular screen, is also an administrator, and he has the ability to also manage projects and members. If I were to log out and log in as a regular member, let's say Boba Fett, oops, and we were to log in as Boba Fett, we will be able to see that if I click on his name, he does not have that option. He's a regular member, so he does not have the ability to create projects or invite people. Okay, so we can log out of him. So let's take a quick look again at Luke Skywalker and creating projects. So how do we create projects? We simply click on Manage Projects and Members, go to the Projects tab. When we click on Manage Projects and Members, we actually move into what's called the workspace environment. So you'll see this workspaces, and on the right-hand side is the name of the subscription. You have the ability to have multiple subscriptions. So if Luke Skywalker had multiple subscription, he would have to select which one he wants to open in the workspace environment. So he only has one, so we only have the option to click it here. Now once I click on projects, I have the ability to do a number of things. I can create a new project on the right-hand side, or I can browse or search projects on the left-hand side. This structure is common within Projecis within other features in the system. Browse and search on the left, new items on the right. So let's go ahead and create a new project. All I do is click on New Project, type in a project name, select the project type, select if there should be a due date, select which items should be available. Within Projecis, there are a lot of features. I can select which features should be available for this particular project by simply hiding them or making them visible. Type in a description if I'd like, and then simply add this project. So let's go ahead and create a project. I'm going to create this project, Phoenix ABC. I'm going to consider it, let's call it a construction, a marketing project. Now, picking a project type is extremely important. This is one area, certainly within the project environment, you want to spend a little time on and make sure you select the correct one. The reason why is when you select a project type, it will pre-populate some of the pull-down menus within the system. So if you select the wrong project type, you won't have access for those pull-downs. Now, once you create a project, you cannot change the project type. So that's why you want to spend time and make sure you pick the right one, whether it's clinical research, perhaps entertainment, or in this case, marketing. I can then type in a description and simply add this project. Okay. So that's how we can create a project within this particular system. Now, I can do a number of things because I'm a leader, but let's jump directly back to the slides and take a look at where we left off. The next thing we want to talk about is inviting members into a subscription. So we've talked a little bit about creating projects already. Now let's talk about inviting members into a subscription. First of all, who can invite members? Well, only full administrators, full subscription administrators can invite a person into a subscription versus who can assign members to a project. Both full and project level administrators can assign people that are already in the subscription to projects. Why is this organized this way? Well, first of all, when you invite people into a subscription, they are then going to be occupying a seat. So in other words, they'll be consuming resources. So you want to make sure that that particular function is tightly held. Because they can certainly increase the number of seats, decrease the number of seats, or they might have to bump other people off of the subscription if they want to free up a seat in order to assign a seat to a particular individual. So as a result, full administrators have those particular rights. Project administrators do not. Project administrators can create projects. They can also assign people that are already in the subscription to projects, but they cannot invite people into the subscription as a whole. And certainly regular members do not have that ability either. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at that ability as well. So here I've created this project, Phoenix ABC. I am a full administrator, so I can actually click on member assignments, type in the first letter of the person I want to assign to this particular project, select their role in this project, and again, this pull down is based on the project type. I selected marketing, so I have the ability to make this person's role Chief Marketing Officer. So role isn't necessarily title. Role is role within a given project. So for example, I might have 6 different marketing officers, and one of them might be involved in business development. Another one might be the campaign lead. So when we talk about role, don't think of it necessarily as title. It could very well be their title, but certainly can be a role within that given project. I can also select if they have special permissions. So in this particular case, I've made Brea Organa a project lead or campaign lead, so maybe I want to make them a leader on this project. And you can see that once I select leader, all the other functions or all the other features are grayed out, because certainly you can't have leader and all these other features or permissions, because leader already encompasses those permissions. But I might have a variety of mixes of permissions as well, and they can be selected, and then all I do is save changes. So this is how a leader, a subscription administrator, can assign a person that's already within the subscription. But let's say a person is not on the subscription. What can I do? Well, if I click on the right-hand side and I go to Manage Projects and Members, I can click on People. Now, because I'm a full administrator on the subscription, I can simply click on Add Person, and then I have the decision to add members or non-members. When you're first starting a subscription, everybody that you're entering into the system is going to be a member. Members are the only ones that can be assigned to projects. So they're the ones that you would be assigning to projects. Non-members, however, cannot be assigned to projects. So why do we have this member, non-member area? In the beginning, everybody will be a member. However, let's say you have a member that is on a project and then the project completes, or the project gets discontinued. I can then shift them from member to non-member. That does a couple things. One, it frees up a seat that I can assign to somebody else. And secondly, in the future, if I want to convert them into a member, I can and do it very easily. Versus having to, you also have the option to certainly remove them or delete them and then re-invite them. But here, all the information would be saved, and then I could just simply make them a member again in the future. So I type in the first name, last name, email address, the company that they are affiliated with, because certainly in a lot of organizations, you might be working with partner companies, maybe these are customers, maybe these are consultants. They might have their own organization they're actually part of. And then I can dictate whether they are going to be an administrator. Again, I'm a full administrator and actually a subscription owner, so I can dictate whether they'll have administrator level permissions or just member level permissions. Most of the people in your subscriptions will probably have just member level permissions. However, if I do make them an administrator, because I am an owner of this subscription, I can dictate whether they're a full administrator or project level administrator, and whether or not they can manage some of the billing. So, and have ability to enter billing information. So all of this is available, and all I do is invite this person. Now, the selection of any one of these, whether it's access, type of administrator, whether they're doing billing, you can change this at any time. You can always go into the system and you can change any of this information. So in the future, maybe I don't want them an administrator at all, and I could just make them a regular member. Once I click invite this person, they will get an email with a link. That link will ask them to set up their own username and passwords. Subscription administrators do not have access to member username and passwords. So if they lose their username and password, there is an ability to click on a button to get access to it. And additional to that, they can also contact us if they're really having problems. We can try to figure out what's going on. So this is how a person can be invited into a subscription if they are a full administrator. Now, we already saw that R2D2 is a project level administrator. So because he's a project level administrator, he can assign people to projects, and we saw that before, but he cannot invite people into the subscription. So he has access to manage projects and members, and if we were to click that, he can easily click on people. However, he only has the option to add a non-member. So on the right-hand side, you see the ability to add a non-member. This person cannot be assigned to a particular project. Okay. However, Luke Skywalker does have the ability to add a person. And when you add a person, you'll have the option to select member or non-member. So here in this particular section, we just showed you how to add people to subscription and assign people to projects. Okay. So with that, let's jump back directly into the slides and talk about the last item I want to review today, is actually managing your personal profile. Every now and then I'll get a question, well, could you change my email, my telephone number, or even the time zone I'm in? Every member has the ability to change their own profile. Subscription administrators do not have access to individuals' profile. So you don't have to go to the subscription administrator to ask them to set something up for you. You actually have the ability to do it yourself. The profile is important because it does dictate your time zone. So if you are invited to a particular meeting, it will adjust to your local time zone. And also what communication channels are available within Projecis. Projecis has a lot of features, which includes notifications, voice over IP, conference calling features. A lot of those features will require some level of identification within the system. So certainly we'll have the system will have your email address because that's certainly how you signed up. However, if you want to be involved in conference calls, your phone number needs to be entered within the system. If you want to get text alerts from the system, you will have to actually have your phone number within the system and so on. So let's talk a little bit about, again, here, anybody, and that's why the box is encompassing everybody, has access to their own profile and can actually manage it. So let's take a look at that. So I'm still here as Luke Skywalker. I can do a couple of things. I can either view or edit my profile or manage account settings. Both of these will still allow you a certain level of access, but let's start with view and edit profile. If I click on view and edit profile, you could see what my profile is, and I can always click on edit my profile. And that will get me into this particular area where I can manage some of the email addresses, decide whether it's visible or hidden, as well as managing some other information, including manage phone numbers. Another way to access this is account settings. In account settings, you'll get access to a variety of other features. So as I mentioned before, I can manage my email address. And I can make one primary and make some others secondary. And certainly I can remove them. So this is where I can manage my email addresses. I can manage my passwords by changing them, changing my username or changing my password. I can also manage my phone numbers. So if I can certainly add phone numbers, whether they are mobile or work numbers, and add them within the system. Additionally, I can select preferences. Preferences is something that will be used more and more as we move into dashboarding in the future. But I can actually dictate what landing page I want to be on within a given project. Now, default project here, if I select that, could be any one of the projects that I'm a member of, and I can certainly select any one of these projects. So whenever I log in, I can say, I want to go to this particular project within the system. Another thing we can also do is set up your particular format. There are a number of formats that are included within the system. Certainly, European format is very different, or can be different than the US format. So certainly, you can select it for your own particular preferences, and then simply click on Save Preferences. So this is one of the areas that certainly you can manage in terms of emails, telephone numbers, and so on. You can also click on linked accounts if you do have any other accounts you want to certainly link here. This is currently not populated. And then system notifications. System notifications is one of those things that you can actually set up a daily digest. So what is a daily digest? Daily Digest will send you an email in the morning, 4 o'clock your local time, of meetings that particular day, items that are due, and so on. So this is the universal setting up of notifications. So do I want to get notifications, yes or no? Once you do that, and you were to go to a particular project, let's say Project Rhodoprophia, okay, I can go into this particular area, click on settings, and then I can dictate what kind of information that I'm going to be notified about and whether or not it should be included in my daily digest. So this is one of the areas where you can set up what should be included in this daily digest. So why would we do this? Well, one of them is you might want to get an email every morning of what's going on, but you don't necessarily want it in all of your projects. You might want it only on those projects that you consider important. So all I do is make that selection, go to the project, say, yes, this is a project that I think is important, and this project should be included in my daily digest, and you will receive those type of notifications. Okay. And again, that is in the account settings and system notifications area. Now, as I mentioned, your profile settings are very important. So for example, in R2D2, you could see I have this option to call him versus Bail Organa. I do not have that option to call him. The reason being is because R2D2 has his phone number within the system. So if I were to click on call, I can call his work phone, his mobile phone, by simply clicking on it and then hitting next. It will connect the microphone and speakers on my computer, and I can call them directly. Similarly, if I were to send a text message, because he has a mobile phone within the system, if I were to send an alert or a ping, he will get that notification to his cell phone. Okay. The text will actually be sent to his cell phone. Bail Organa does not have his phone number in the system, so he will not have that ability or that option there. Similarly, you might want several email addresses within the system. And although notifications will only go to the primary email address within your system, you might want to be able to email in items from secondary email addresses. If you do that, the email address has to be recognized in order for the system to accept it. So again, you might want to add additional email addresses if you do that in the future. Usually prior to a meeting, I will go to my team and I will say, please go into your own profile, and here's the minimum I'm expecting. Cell phone number, your work phone number, your work email address is already in there, but if you need to adjust it, please go in and do so. And I will say that to the entire team to ensure that they go in and actually make those particular changes. That way they can get all the information that I want them to get. They'll be notified quickly when things are happening, and I can reach them whenever I need to reach them. Okay. So with that, I've covered those particular 3 areas. If you do have any questions, please feel free to type them in the question box now, or feel free to email me at paul@projecis.com later. And similarly, if you want to set up a one-on-one meeting or again a demo with your team, just let me know, send me an email, and we can set it up. Any questions? Okay. With that, I want to thank everybody for participating in this meeting, and I look forward to speaking with you at our next webinar. Thank you.